energy. They had no fight. They had no enthusiasm. Then they tried to play hero ball at the end by shooting those three. Like, Paul had a surge of scoring late, but it's too late by then. You can't be the go-to guy and have 5 points in the first half unless you're in foul trouble, and he definitely was not in foul trouble. So that's why I'm not really never been on the Clippers bandwagon, because those two guys are too inconsistent for me.
What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. So, just listening to Shaquille O'Neal speak on the Clippers, just being brutally honest about, his assessment of the Clippers debacle and just collapse against the Dallas Mavericks, losing by 30 plus points. He said what I've been saying before. He's actually made this statement before on his own podcast. The reason why he ain't been sold on the Clippers, because he can't trust James Harden and he can't trust Paul George. There's no way they can give you 30 plus points, 33, 34 points in a game 4, in a pivotal game 5. Paul George has like 5 points, 6 points at halftime. Has like 15 points at the end of the game. James Harden has 7 points for the game. And it's been like, they put a stat about James Harden when I was looking at one of the, I think it was First Things First or one of those shows. There's been 9 to 10 times where James Harden has shot 10 plus shots in a playoff game and only made 2 plus field goals or fewer. I mean, that is way too many times for a player of his caliber to shoot that piss poor in big moments when we used to see him in regular season games look like the best player in the league. I can remember one time they were saying James Harden was more talented, a better scorer than Kobe Bryant. Damn, I can't never tell, because every playoff I ever seen him, he's always choked, and he's still doing it now. And now he's asked to be a third guy on a team, not the guy. I mean, so I personally thought throughout the years, I was like, okay, maybe he's not built to be the guy. Maybe he's built to be the second guy on a team. But when he goes to the Philadelphia 76ers last year, he was the second guy on the team. He scored 40 points 2 of those games. The last 2 games of that series, he had 9 points and then like a 15-point game. Just didn't show up. Didn't show up at all. You can't drop a 40, 33-point game and then the next game drop 7 points. It just doesn't work that way. That's just not winning basketball. That's not a winning mentality. That's not a winner's mentality at all. And that's the reason why I said James Harden playoffs pressure is hit or miss. And so is Paul George. I can remember a game in OKC with Paul George when he played with Russell Westbrook. And I think they were playing Utah, and Russell Westbrook had 45 points in that game, I believe. And Paul George had 5 points. And I believe they lost that game. I mean, that's inexcusable. That's inexcusable. As talented as Paul George is, the smoothest scorer in the league, people talk about his handle, how smooth he is. Well, smooth don't win championships. It don't win championships. And it's like, when you look at them that game against Dallas the other night, I mean, it just looked, I couldn't tell who that was on the floor. It definitely didn't look like the Clippers from the game prior to that in game 4. And hell, game 4, they almost lost. They almost gave that away. It was up 31 points. And like I said, 2 minutes to go, Dallas got the lead. So it's like when you look at situations like that, it's just hard. It's just hard to trust Paul George and James Harden. It is. And what makes it even more demoralizing, you're sitting there watching Kawhi on the sideline, in street clothes, not able to play. And Kawhi's my guy. But damn, I wish he was healthy. I wish he was. Because this series would have been over in 5 games. 6 at the most. Honestly, this series be over now, honestly. I personally believe it would have been over the other day. I really believe it would have been over the other day. I just believe that because I know how good Kawhi is. I know what he brings, and he brings something that Shaq and a lot of others don't question. Even though Kawhi is hurt, people hate the fact that he's hurt because everybody knows how good of a player he is, how great of a player he is. And like I said, if Kawhi's healthy, this series is over already. They're looking at OKC probably moving on to the next. Because honestly, when I look at the Dallas Mavericks, even though they won by 30 points and all that, you just can't convince me there's nobody on Dallas that can check anybody on the Clippers. There's nobody on there that can guard Kawhi Leonard. Not one. But there should not be one player on there that can guard Paul George either, or James Harden. James Harden and Paul George should get off every single time against this team. There's nobody that can guard you. Luka's on a bad knee. He can't guard you. You can't guard him, but he can't guard you. Kyrie is not known for defense. He's known for offense. So you can't guard him, but he can't guard you either. Daniel Gafford is a no fucking body. PJ Washington is a nobody. Derek Lively, yeah, he's a pretty good, young center. But Paul George got stuffed by him trying to dunk on him like twice. Kawhi Leonard would have posterized Derek Lively by now. Kawhi Leonard probably would have let him know it's levels to this shit if Kawhi was healthy. And this is why I said it's levels to it. And sometimes I try to give James Harden and PG the benefit of the doubt because they are Hall of Fame players, along with Russell Westbrook, because Russ, he's only been averaging like 6 points a game this whole series pretty much. Game one, he played better. He played the best game one, but the last 4 games of this series, he's averaging 6 points. He's getting ejected. He's trying to fight Luka. His head is not into it. His game is not there. I mean, honestly, they could just put Bones Highland in for Russ. Bones can give you 6 points. He can give you that. He might can't play with the intensity that Russ plays with, but Russ is not. He's shooting like 25% from the 3-point line. The Dallas Mavericks are literally daring Russ to shoot every time. Every time Russ shoots from 3, Dallas defenders turn their head and look at the rim. They don't even go out there and try to contest it, or they half-ass contest it because it's like, oh, okay, you go ahead and shoot. You good. Go ahead. Do us a favor and shoot and brick it so we can run down the other end of the court and get a fast break shot. That's basically what they're doing. Russ is such a non-factor. It's really hard to even play him. It is. That's why I said, 6 points. He's the last 4 games, he's averaging 6 points on 32% shooting, 25% from 3. Damn, you can put Brandon Boston in for that. You can put Bones in for that. Honestly. And like I said, Ty Lue, the way he coaches is too star heavy. A lot of times when you look at the Clippers, you heard me say it this season, last season, year before that. They at times they go to this hero ball shit. Too much ISO ball. Too much playing the hero. My turn, like take turn basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll throw it to Kawhi when he was there on an isolation, 1-on-1 against a player. And Kawhi is so skilled, he can go at anybody. So can Paul George, so can James Harden. But it's too much isolation ball with them. And that's the reason why I said I feel like the way Ty Lue coaches, it just doesn't fit Kawhi Leonard, because I feel like he puts too much onus on Kawhi Leonard offensively when there's 4 other Hall of Famers here where they should have more continuity with their offense, the way they run their sets and things like that. Even when they won 26 out of 32 games in the regular season, I thought their offense could have been ran a lot better. Even though Kawhi was getting off, doing his thing and looking like an MVP caliber type player, I'm pretty sure Kawhi would have rather not looking so much like an MVP caliber type player and just average, he averaged 24 points a game. But honestly, with that type of firepower, all of them should be averaging 20 plus points a game. Like at least 3 out of 4. And Russ should be averaging like 15 to 16 a game. That would have been the ultimate balance that they needed as a team to really gel. So just in case one of them got hurt, like Kawhi did, they will already have that rhythm pattern where we usually all score 20 plus points a game anyway, like each player, because the wealth is evenly distributed. And we always have one of the other guys put up 10 to 15 with us. So it's like more balance with their offense, because that little isolation basketball shit they do, that hurts you a lot when you're playing better competition. It hurts you a whole lot, especially playing somebody like Luka too, because Luka, even though he'll score 30 points, he always likes to have 10 to 15 assists with his 30 points. So it's like it's balance in his game. Even though he's a high usage player, it's balance in his game. And Kyrie is the closer for them. So it makes their team balance as long as the Klebers and Tim Hardaways, they're just knocking down a few threes here and there. It gives them balance. And the Clippers don't have that. Now, they had Kawhi Leonard. I still think they'd be the one in the series in 5 because Kawhi is so dominant defensively. It makes the Clippers better defensively when he's on the floor because he makes up so much ground. He makes up for James Harden, who's not a defender. And he like I said, he's so good instinctively with his defense. It makes everybody else's job a lot easier. And they get more fast break points with Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi always gets at least 2 to 3 steals a game where either he's on a fast break getting 2 points or Paul George or whoever or Terrence Mann getting some easy extra possessions. Kawhi is always going to give you some easy extra possessions on fast breaks. And then that allows Russell Westbrook, when he's in there with Kawhi, they on the run with a fast break. If Kawhi gets a hand in there, causes a turnover. Now Russell's on the run. He gets himself going, gets himself hyped, either score himself or find Kawhi with a backdoor pass with a behind the back pass, and Kawhi goes up for the left-handed spike. So it gets everybody going with Kawhi's defense and how he can control a game on the defensive end and how he can control it on the offensive end as well, because it's like they kind of have nothing to worry about with him. But now that he's not there, they can have games like they had in Game 4, but more so, they're going to look piss poor in a lot of increments and a lot of times in games like they did in Game 5, except we didn't think it ever looked that bad. Because they don't have their guy there to make up for all their mistakes and clean up their clean up their messes and wiping their noses. Kawhi's not there to do all that. So now all their mistakes and all their inconsistencies show a lot more. And it makes it easier for Jay Kidd to kind of coach around all that, even though Ty Lue is trying to disguise it. But even with all that said, Paul George and James Harden got to play better than that. They can't have 22 points combined. They had 28 points combined with Russell Westbrook if you add him in there. Luka outscored all 3 of them by himself. He had 35 and 10. He outscored the Clippers' big 3 by himself on a bad knee, on one leg. That's horrible. That's horrible. And like I said, it really makes it even worse looking at Kawhi sitting there. He really can't do nothing about it. They might try to throw Kawhi in next game, but what rhythm does Kawhi have? Kawhi ain't been practicing. He just been looking at film with the team, giving his insight probably on things that he see that they can implement within the games. And the way Ty Lue coaches, he's not getting the best out of his other players. I mean, for one player, I thought that honestly would have a good, decent series, underratedly. I thought it would be Norman Powell. I would have thought maybe one of these games, Norman Powell would have had a 25-plus point game. One of these games, especially with Kawhi ailing and not being there. I would have thought Norman Powell definitely have one of these breakout games. But, I mean, I feel like Ty Lue is not putting him in position to be who he usually is, not getting the opportunities or something, because it's like you got a guy off the bench that can go out there and light it up the way he can, that can cook the way Norman Powell can. There's no way he shouldn't have had a 20, 25-plus point game in this series, at least one game, maybe even 2. I mean, honestly, this next game in Dallas, even if Paul George and Harden have 25-plus points, they're going to need somebody like Norman Powell, or basically just Norman Powell, to have a 20-plus point game himself to give them a chance to win. That's the only way they're going to win this game. They need a breakout game from Norman Powell because he's the one guy on that team that can go out there and drop 20-plus points off the bench and offset what Dallas is doing and make Dallas rethink their strategy. Ty Lue's going to have to find a way to get him some open shots and implement him a little bit within that offense, because he can kind of make up the difference, especially if James Harden or Paul George struggle. I think at least one of them will play decent this next game, I hope. But if Kawhi is not there, I mean, even if he is there, Norman Powell just needs to have one of those games where he just, can just be a pure bucket that he already is. Honestly, that's probably the only hope they have. They need that third guy to come out there and give them a spirit, a spark on offense that can offset what Dallas is doing and make them rethink their strategy. Because honestly, like Shaq said, you really can't trust Paul George and James Harden like that. They hit or miss. And all the people that are saying that, they're better without Kawhi and all that, well, that game showed it. That game showed how much better they are without Kawhi. Because when other team really locks in, other team really keens in on your weaknesses, and the inconsistency of Paul George and James Harden, and you can't count on it, it shows you the value of Kawhi Leonard at all times. And I hate the fact that he's hurt, but I honestly think Kawhi wouldn't be hurt if he was coached by another coach who really understands him, who really knows how to utilize him. Don't wear him down in the regular season the way Ty Lue does. There's no need doing that, because he got to save some for the playoffs. I don't know if he need to load manage again. I don't know what they need to do, or just let him sit out some games and pay the fines, whatever they need to do. But I mean, if you went and got James Harden for one of these situations, if one of the star players go down, well, he has to show up. And the fact you can't trust James Harden to show up, what'd you get him for? You basically got him for nothing. So, I mean, at least that's the way it looks at this moment. Now, the Clippers are not out. I mean, it's not over till it's over, but damn, I mean, the Clippers got to find a way to win this next game, of course. And honestly, it's just anything is possible. But right now, it's just not looking too good.